Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Rules Committee meeting for Wednesday, August 9, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers to order. Roll call, please. Here.
Zagorowski.
Here.
Brooks. Labrie.
Here.
Tillotson.
Here. Participating tonight on Zoom is Councilor Tillotson, and Councilor Krampitz is also on Zoom this evening. Is there anyone else on Zoom this evening? Is there any other councilor on Zoom? Seeing none, we also have Councilor of Ward 9, Mary Beth Costello. And I don't think there's any other city councilors here this evening. Okay, we're going to move. In compliance with the open meeting law, the city of Chicopee is recording this meeting. Is anyone in the audio or videotaping this meeting? If so, please state your name and organization. Seeing none, we'll proceed to item number 1.
Can I make a motion to take item number 2 out of order?
Motion made and second to take item 2 out of order. Roll call, please.
Laflamme.
Yes.
Zagorowski.
Yes.
Labrie.
Yes.
Tillotson.
Yes. The motion passes. Item 2, be it ordered that the city council meet to discuss the open meeting law complaint filed by Lisa Bienvenue on June 20th, 2023. I'm going to turn it over to our attorney for a minute to discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess the first thing for the committee to do would be to make a motion to have me issue a response.
Motion made and second that we have the attorney Tim Riley do the draft response to the item number 2 on our agenda.
I believe someone else should make that motion.
That's
Yeah,
what I wanted to
I'll make a motion to have our attorney review it and draft a response to that item.
Motion made and second that the draft response of item number 2 by Tim Riley be discussed at this moment. You want to speak on it?
Just
Roll call.
Roll call.
Laflamme.
Yes.
Zagorowski.
Yes.
Labrie.
Yes.
Tillotson.
Yes. And the motion passes. Draft.
so, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I drafted a response for the.
No. No, we don't have to do that. Okay. No, because we're not reading it. We're giving him the permissions, what he's given us from the law department to respond to her, her request. Okay. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so we received a response in front of us from the law department to give him the permission to respond to the complaint of the open meeting law. I need a motion to allow him to move ahead with that draft.
Motion to allow our attorney to move ahead with the response.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think the motion would be to approve the response and then ask me to approve the response and issue the response to Ms. Bienvenue and the Attorney General.
Motion to approve the response and respond to the on that motion,
on the open meeting law violation. Motion made and second to we approve him to respond to the open meeting law violation. Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Any comments from Zoom? Any comments from Zoom? Roll call, please.
Laflamme.
Yes.
Zagorowski.
Yes.
Labrie.
Yes.
Tillotson.
Yes. And the motion passes. Should we do another that takes care of sending it everything?
Yes.
Okay, because you had 2 on here.
Yeah, just 2. We did them both.
All right, thank you. And the motion passes for him to take care of it. All right. We'll go back to motion to go back to item number 1. Get a motion to go back to item.
Motion go back to item number 1.
Motion made second to go back to item 1. Roll call, please.
Laflamme.
Yes.
Zagorowski.
Yes.
Labrie.
Yes.
Tillotson.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 1, be it ordered that the Chicopee City Council accept the final report by the Charter Review Committee and forward the same to the Rules Committee for review and formulation of recommendations to the full City Council for discussion and formal adoption. Okay. What I'm going to do tonight is, I'm just going to read some real quick of the process we are going to be doing, and then we're going to do is have the commissioners speak if they would like to speak, and then we'll have public input last so they can speak and make suggestions. So I'd just like to go through the process. So this is a very serious undertaking as a charter of the city's constitution. It is not a simple ordinance that can be amended. The city's charter cannot be easy change, and it impacts not just us now, but for the future of the city of Chicopee. That's why this process should not be taken lightly. To make changes to the charter, a home rule petition is required. However, if there are many changes proposed, a charter commission may have to be created by ballot, which will take much longer. Process for a home rule petition: ordered, filed by the city council, ordered, voted upon, sent to the state representative. State representatives presents it to the House Council. The House Council drafts the legislation, sent back to the City Council. Second vote of the City Council. City Clerk sends it back to the state representative. Must be approved by the House of Representatives. Must be approved by the state Senate and signed into law by the governor. And I just want to bring up, after tonight's meeting, I, the president of the board, will file an order for the next city council meeting on September 5th, asking Mayor View to schedule a special council meeting in September of 2023 to allow the city council to move forward with the proposed city charter changes. At this special meeting, councilors should come prepared, having reviewed the entire charter as it exists, as well as the proposed changes presented by the Charter Review Commission. Bring to the meeting the ideas that are important to you for consideration. Please become prepared for this meeting. Tonight, we will hear from the Charter Commission and their suggestion, changes, and wishes to speak on this item for the public. So I'll now open up for the Charter Commission. Anyone that wants to speak on any item, you're welcome to come up one by one, and I would suggest you come. I'm going to ask you to sit down if you like by a chair, it'd be much easier, or you can use the big mic, whatever you guys want. So whoever wants to come first, and we're here to listen to your report.
Thank you. Joe Chessie. I was appointed to the Charter Commission by Frank Laflamme. I live in Ward 3 in the city of Chicopee. I would like to start out by requesting a moment of silence for Tom Chikowski. I always have trouble mentioning his name. He was a member of our commission, and he passed away. And he never missed a meeting. He was always there. And I would just like, in his honor, to have a moment of silence.
We will have a moment of silence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I was chairman of the Charter Commission. And I would just like to start out by saying I never worked with a better group of people in my life. They were very conscientious. They took their job very serious. And they came up with a lot of different proposals, which you have a copy of in front of you. There are, like I say, many changes. Some I supported, some I didn't. But by vote of the committee, they came up with this report, and I will support whatever is in here. I speak as an individual. I do not speak for the committee itself. And I would just like to start out, by explaining what I just did. I just would like to point out a couple of people that I think really did, a lot of good work. I'd like to start out by recognizing Al Picard, Josh Clark, Nate Morrow. Nate Morrow really did the lion's share of the clerk's work for this committee. And like I say, what you have in front of you basically was his doing. But again, like I say, I support the changes that were put in here, even though I did not support some of them. But, it was, like I say, a committee, and the committee did the work, and it was voted upon. With that, I would just leave it up to anybody on the committee who would, like to speak, on behalf of it. And just please remember, everybody is speaking as an individual at this point. And if there's any questions that the counselors would like to ask me, I'd be more than happy to answer them at this point.
Anyone else would like to speak? Joe, you can say it if you like, and there's more mics. Next person, anybody would like to speak? Come on up, Al. Al, you can.
Oh, here, you want?
Al, there's another one right there.
I know you're my
Alright.
senior, Al.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for meeting with us. I want to echo Chairperson Chessie's comments about what a privilege and an honor it was to serve on this committee. It was a committee made up of some very diverse perspectives, but the one theme that recurred meeting after meeting was a consistency on this group to do what they felt was in the best interest of the city of Chicopee. Every single person here that's present has a great caring for the city, and they demonstrated that profoundly at each and every meeting. I was given a little bit of a heads up on a homework assignment in terms of what it was that this committee might be looking for, and that is to select items of importance out of all we did, to select individual items that we as individuals wanted to see prioritized. And I have three. Number one, the change of the mayor's term of office from 2 years to 4 years, I think is certainly a high priority item that needs your full and complete attention. I think secondly, the recall provision that we inserted, there was a great deal of work done on that, taken from communities across the country that we learned about, and we looked at a number of recall provisions and kind of synthesized and took what we thought were some of the best items that could work for the city of Chicopee. So clearly, we know from our history that a recall provision would have been extremely helpful in terms of certain circumstances that occurred from various political officials throughout our history. Vital to have it included. And then the last item was something that I personally took on and had the great support of my colleagues on this commission, was to do the best we could to make our city charter, our city constitution, gender neutral. Because basically in it, there were approximately over 50 different instances when the only pronoun a female who lived in Chicopee read, if they read the city charter, they saw the pronoun he and his in a lot of places. And so what we did was we went through the charter and deleted the his and hers and put other nouns that would fit, that would not take away from the clarity of the charter or its intent. And in so doing, make it probably one of the few charters in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that is gender neutral. So those were my three priorities that I saw. But again, I will reiterate, none of anything that went down on paper could not have been done without the great work of all the people that I had the honor and privilege with in serving on this Charter Review Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Anyone else?
Well, gentlemen, thank you. And, you know, again, I'll echo,
Could you just give your name because?
oh, sorry, Joshua Clark, 517 McKinstry Avenue.
Thank you, Josh.
Again, I'll echo what my colleagues on the commission have said. You know, this, I've been involved in boards and commissions in this city and have chaired a few of them over the last 10 years. And this by far was the most work, but it was the most, you know, rewarding and intellectually stimulating work because this document, like budgets, you know, shows our priorities, what we care about as a city and the things that we would like to have as a focus, you know, for our city. You know, this is by the point that we were working on it, it was 130 years old in some iterations, and there were some changes, things that were pertaining specifically to, you know, the year 1927 or whatever that we had to deal with and figure out, is this still relevant? And obviously the answer is no. And so, you know, we would strike that, and that's included in this document. But there are also other things like, you know, the items that Mr. Picard had mentioned regarding the situation with the mayor's term in office. And this is something that I know people personally who have very strong feelings about maintaining it as a 2-year term. But the fact of the matter is that, and some of my colleagues and myself included felt that it was, you know, 1 year in office doing work and the second year campaigning for office and trying to, you know, win continuation in that seat. And that certainly to us sounded like that was really inefficient, and that the mayor's time should be better spent actually being the mayor in their term. So 4 years would have been in line with what a lot of communities around us have done in terms of Springfield and Holyoke and West Springfield. Agawam, I believe, it just switched it over. So it's something that we felt very strongly about. The other piece was recall and impeachment. You know, there, as Mr. Picard alluded to, there were some issues recently that had necessitated the creation of the Charter Review Commission, you know, incidents that had occurred related to certain free speech issues and some other things maybe, you know, almost 20 years ago now that would have been perhaps handled differently if there had been a recall provision. So we felt that because these events had created the need for or the public support for a Charter Review Commission, that this was incredibly important work toward you know, we should be focused on. And so myself and Karen Russo and Al, you know, we sort of formed our little subcommittee and met, and Al had done a lot of research on communities around the country that had certain recall provisions, impeachment provisions. And one of the concerns that I think many people have on this particular issue is what would constitute the need to impeach somebody. What kind of offense would be necessary that you would say, wow, that is something that we should impeach this person for? And I always go back to, as a former social studies teacher, you know, what does the Constitution say? The Constitution says high crimes and misdemeanors, and there is no definition for what that means, really. And so that, to me, seemed like, you know, it would be in the hands of the members of the city council and the other folks who we had, you know, sort of named. And our commission eventually evolved in some other ways. We have a recall provision that we've included in the last 2 pages of that piece. And so for me, when this was something that was critically important in the moment of city history that we were living in 2 years ago, that, as I said, precipitated or necessitated the creation of this. That to me felt like the most important work that we had done. And so, in the third piece, I would echo Al's comments on the gender neutrality of the document. That is something that most laws and charters and documents are trending toward and amending so that that is part of it. And so I would strongly encourage, if you are to pick three things out of that it would definitely be, looking at that recall procedure, dealing with the mayoral term, and the gender neutrality. And of course, I know this is not a back and forth forum, but I'm happy to, if anyone has any questions later on, tomorrow, next week, whatever, give me a call. Thank you.
Josh. Anyone else for not public event, from the commission?
I just want to echo my name is Karen Russo, 42 Voss Avenue. I just want to echo the sentiments that have already been expressed as far as working with this group. I think we were all like-minded in looking at, this was an old document, in some places very old, some places a little bit contemporary, but definitely outdated, and the spirit of looking forward to our future for our city. So the highlights that Josh and Al have mentioned, I support fully in that. Looking at changing the term of the mayor is very important, knowing that so much of the time of the mayor's term, when it's only 2 years, could be distracted by running a re-election campaign. I also support the recall piece, which we really struggled as a group as to how to make sense of this and to make it be a reasonable thing. So we wanted to include a recall, but we didn't want it so that it was something very easy to do. Somebody started a petition and 10 people signed it and you could run a recall. So it's actually very arduous to even launch a recall effort. And we thought that was also important because it should be something that's very serious and not taken light-handedly to move forward with that. So I hope you take our considerations forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anyone else?
Hi, Jeanette Rivera, 125 Casino Ave, Ward 2. I will echo, like all my fellow commissioners, it was a pleasure to work with you all. The dedication, just to remind folks on the council, we met every 2 weeks during a pandemic. So this was unusual times. Yes, we can't forget about that first, right, commission to do that. But yes, all of the things we've talked about, we really felt passionate for the changes. I would like to point out personally in the recall section, as I was reviewing it for this meeting, because it's been quite a while, I do remember multiple discussions on whether the 25% registered voter signatories for the final recall was of the total registered voters of the city or of just of the previous election. So I just wanted to make note of that when you are in discussion of the recall, possibly have that discussion amongst yourself, what you feel is most appropriate. But nonetheless, the recall provision, I believe, was very important. I would also like to express, as fondly as I think of you all, that the process was arduous in the sense of urgency we felt at the end to complete this document and these recommendations to the council. We felt we had a deadline, and that showed in the last few meetings where I was very attentive in attending all the meetings that I could until the very end where the meat and potatoes were really coming about. So I just wanted to say that in future, if we could be more conscientious of how important this process is. This document hasn't been looked at for 150 years, and it would be a shame if it took another 150 years for us to amend it when needed. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for the commission? Anyone else from the commission? Okay, seeing that, open up to public input. Is anyone here for public input? You have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes.
Lisa Bienvenue, 34 Everett Street. I think the commission should be commended for the work that they did on this, because it is a lot of work and it is a commitment that you all made for the city. I think it's interesting the things that you talk about as priorities, because those really are priority type issues. I'm just going to speak about one, which is the term for the mayor. We can all have an opinion on whether we think a mayor should be 2 years or 4 years, and the election process, and how anyone feels about the election process and the longevity of elected officials is a very personal thing. But I do think it takes more than the commission and the council of a city to decide whether they think they want a mayor to be elected every 2 years because they want to get somebody out sooner, or they want somebody to be in for 4 years. And I really think of all the things that are on there, that's something that should be a ballot vote, a binding ballot vote, because that should be the will of the voters, of the citizens. And I understand the rationale to say, they're doing work for a year and then a year that they're campaigning. But I guess as somebody who has no interest in being an elected official, I think you guys work very hard. They're non-glory jobs. But I also don't think that I think most voters aren't looking for lifetime politicians either. I think there's a balance. So, but that's what I would say, is that decision to go from 2 to 4. I really think there's a lot of arguments, I think, to educate the public of why you think it's a good idea, but then I think it really should be in the hands of the voting public for the city of whether they think it should be a 2 or 4 year mayor's term. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone else for public input on the floor?
I'm Al Picard. I didn't give my address. It's 46 Harvey Street in Chicopee. And it just goes back, in our haste to meet and comply with the year deadline we had, when we were reviewing the document for today's meeting, we discovered a few little grammatical errors or word omissions that, if we are going to put out the document to show not only the work we did, but also to show that we want it to be the pristine product we want it to be. What we are going to do, and probably the folks that came in a little bit late, we're just going to have a quick meeting to go over what some of us talked about. And we will be submitting that long before the September 5th meeting for consideration by the City Council, even if it's just word changes. This is now your document, and we want to make sure it's the most pristine product we could produce. And if it meant giving you a little bit of an update on about 5 little sections of it, that's what we want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. And if you could get that, Al, and you're in charge of it, just give it to our city council. Agnes here, just send it to her and she'll get it to every city councilor.
Okay.
It'll get to everybody. So any of those that you guys want to suggest. And I'm just going to go back and finish with public input if I could. Is there anyone on public input from Zoom? Is there anyone on public input for Zoom? Seeing none. Okay.
Motion to close public input.
Motion made and second to close public input. Roll call.
Laflamme?
Yes.
Zagorowski?
Yes.
Labrie?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.
And the motion passes. I just want to step back and Al took over something that I was going to bring up now, was asking everybody that would like to give us their 3 most important items. I happened to see him at a wake today, so he was asking me how it was going to go. So I want to give the opportunity to Mr. Chessie and those that didn't know what I was going to have you all do now. If you would, anybody want to just give their 3 points, you're welcome to come up and to give your 3 points. I did not do that. Just want to give everyone the opportunity. And again, if you have anything that you want to give to the council later on, just email our office and we'll take all this into consideration. And I do believe some of this, like the voting one, may go on the ballot. And that's what we're here to talk about. And the reason I set it up for a special meeting is because there's only so many councilors here. I want the whole team here we went out to go and revise the whole discussion. So that's why I'm calling a special meeting of all the councils to go over that. That's how important it is, so we can go on to the second. There'll be several more meetings on it, but have us all together, not come from here, from a subcommittee to them and back and forth. Everybody's going to hear the same thing. Okay? You have any? Yep.
I want to thank the commission, but I think your 3 points priority is terrific. What's really good is addressing gender equality, especially in our
We
city.
can't hear her on Zoom,
Oh,
so if she could speak
gender
up, please.
equality.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
That's
you.
that's a terrific topic.
Okay.
And I totally agree with that. That's a historic moment you people took. Historic. Because I have a question. We were founded as a city back in 1890. Does anybody in this room know how many women have served on the city council during that time? I was told 12. 2 of them are presently serving. This is a progressive moment, an act of courage by this commission to address this. And I truly appreciate, because I have 2 daughters, both of them live in Chicopee, and I want them to feel as women that they are in fact welcome. And you people did that. You should be tremendously proud of the groundbreaking effort to modernize our city and make it inclusive. I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other city councilors? Anyone on the floor at one time? Jim, do you have any comments?
Not now, Frank, but I'll digest what I heard, and I'm pretty impressed.
Thank you, Jim. Well,
Yeah.
On behalf of the city council as a whole, I want to thank all you folks for taking the opportunity to look at this. It's hard to get people to come out to do this type of a job, because it was a long year process for you guys. And you guys did a great job working together. I know a couple of times I was able just to go for an hour or so with the attorney just to go and listen to you guys. And it's just been a great opportunity. And I think the process that you folks brought forward to us is a lot to digest. And I think it's that important. I noticed there's probably, I think 44 items change. And I was in contact with former Representative Wagner on the process of this. And some of this is like clerical stuff, so we may be able to move some of this stuff differently. But that's who I'm going to be working with the former representative, as well as the representative we have now, to get this process moving. But it is an important one. And we'll have many more for the public to come to the meetings and discuss your findings as well as everyone's else. And so with that said, I believe that would be the end of the discussion. Does anybody, I'll give the opportunity to the commissioners that worked hard, if you want anything else to say. Sure.
Just, you mentioned you went to the meetings with our lawyer. I also want to just recognize Kevin Corden,
Yes.
our city solicitor, who I just found out is our city solicitor, who spent, hours with us in our meetings for the better part of that year. And I just want to comment quickly about that year process, because the people on the commission know that Councilor McAuliffe had brought forward the ordinance to create the commission, but I had written it, with him and, in order to bring it forward. The consideration was that the year was so that we were able to get this done, and that we weren't protracting this out as a commission and screwing around and meeting and not meeting, and that we just had that time where it was just, we were able to say a year, and then we're pushing it off to you all to do what you need to do with it. So we felt that, or at least at the time of writing the ordinance, that was really important. But I would agree that toward the end, we felt, man, wish we had maybe a year and a half, maybe another month, and we could have had something better. But that was sort of the thought process there. So thank you, Counselor, and I cede the rest of my time.
Thank you. Okay, that will be, I think that's it. Okay, I'll take a motion.
Motion to place on file?
Motion made and placed on file. Roll call, please.
Laflamme?
Yes.
Zagorowski?
Yes.
Labrie?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.
And the motion passes. Before we adjourn, I just want to remind everybody, this is placed on file, but it is going to be going to our September, what date did I say? 5th, our September 5th meeting. So we're on it right away. Will be where we're going to ask to get started on it right away. Okay, so that's why it was placed on temporary on file until we have that order. Your report? Right. Yeah, I will work and find out how we can do it. Yep. I'll figure out if there is a way. If there is, we will put it. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to approve the minutes of July 12th, 2023.
Motion made and second that we approve the July 12th, 2023 Rules Committee meeting. Roll call.
Laflamme?
Yes.
Zagorowski?
Yes.
Labrie?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.
And the motion passes.
A motion to adjourn.
Motion made, second to adjourn. Roll call.
Laflamme?
Yes.
Zagorowski?
Yes.
Labrie?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.